This daughter of Indian immigrants became the second lady of the United States. And for her vice president husband, J.D. Vance, she is way more accomplished than he is.
I watched J.D. over a period of time. I endorsed him. Very, very smart. The only one smarter than him was his wife. That was...
Usha Chilukuri was born in 1986 in San Diego, California, to parents of Indian descent.
I grew up in San Diego, in a middle-class community.
Her mother, Lakshmi Chilukuri, is a biologist and provost at the University of California, San Diego, while her father, Krish, is an aerospace engineer. Usha was raised in a household that emphasized education and hard work with focus on religion. She said, "I did grow up in a religious household. My parents are Hindu, and I think that was one of the things that made them such good parents, that make them really very good people." Usha's close family friend Vikram Rao told the New York Times by age 5 or 6, she had assumed a leadership role. She decided which board games we were going to play and what the rules were going to be. She was never mean or unkind, but she was the boss. Her high school classmate Lizzie Lee described her as a bookworm. Usha also played the flute in the school marching band. After high school, she enrolled at Yale University, where she graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in History. Then, she pursued a Master of Philosophy in Early Modern History as a Gates Cambridge Scholar at the University of Cambridge. Upon returning to the US, she joined the Yale Law School, where she met J.D. Vance, who would become her husband 4 years later, and eventually the Vice President of the United States.
We were friends first because, who wouldn't want to be friends with J.D.? He was then, as now, the most interesting person I knew.
In a podcast in 2020, J.D. Vance said, "Usha definitely brings me back to earth a little bit, and if I maybe get a little bit too cocky or a little too proud, I just remind myself that she is way more accomplished than I am."
When J.D. met me, he approached our differences with curiosity and enthusiasm. He wanted to know everything about me, where I came from, what my life had been like.
Charmed by her great sense of humor and extraordinarily direct way of speaking, he said he confessed his love to her after their first date.
The most determined person I knew with one overriding ambition: to become a husband and a father, and to build the kind of tight-knit family that he had longed for as a child.
J.D. Vance wrote of Usha in his memoir Hillbilly Elegy, "She seemed some sort of genetic anomaly, a combination of every positive quality a human being should have: bright, hardworking, tall, and beautiful."
Although he's a meat and potatoes kind of guy, he adapted to my vegetarian diet and learned to cook food from my mother, Indian food.
Usha's other classmates described her as highly competitive yet helpful, saying she was someone who would always share her outlines. They were like perfectly organized, color-coded, the works. Politically, Usha was a registered Democrat at least until 2014. She worked at the law firm Munger, Tolles & Olson, which described itself as a radically progressive workspace, before resigning in 2024 to support her family. She previously worked as a law clerk for Brett Kavanaugh on the District of Columbia Court of Appeals and for Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, who were both known as conservative jurists. Law clerks help with researching cases and drafting decisions. During the term when she clerked for John Roberts in 2017-2018, he authored a ruling upholding Donald Trump's travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries. In another case, Roberts sided with the majority, backing a Christian baker who declined to make a wedding cake for a same-sex couple. Usha's colleagues described her as liberal and moderate, though. Her husband, J.D. Vance, who used to be anti-Trump, eventually became a Make America Great Again loyalist and joined Donald Trump in his second presidential term as vice president, making Usha Vance the first woman of Indian origin to become the second lady of the United States.
It's safe to say that neither J.D. nor I expected to find ourselves in this position. But it's hard to imagine a more powerful example of the American dream.